Democratic Senator John Fetterman calling out his own party. He says Democrats are losing young men.
By this vote, the yeas are 49, the nays are 50. Therefore, the motion is not agreed to.
America, Wednesday in the United States Senate, Democrats had 52 votes aimed directly at Trump's Iran war. 49 of their own people, plus 3 Republicans who crossed the aisle. By every count, they had more than enough to win. They lost 49-50 because one Democrat from Pennsylvania looked at everything his party was asking and said, no. But here's what's getting buried. 5 days ago, the same man published an article in the Washington Post telling his own party that they had been taken over by their fringe. He put it in writing. He signed his name on it. Then he walked into the Senate floor on Wednesday on May 13, 2026 and proved that he meant every single word. That person, his name is John Fetterman. His party, they're calling him a traitor, and he votes with them 93% of the time.
The U.S. Senate has once again rejected a measure aimed at limiting President Trump's war powers in Iran. The measure would have required congressional approval for future military action in Iran. For the 7th time this year, the measure failed to advance. 49-50. Meanwhile, the president told reporters he doesn't think about Americans' finances amid the war, a comment that's being criticized by Democrats amid rising fuel costs and concerns from some about the economy.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Here is the plain truth about what happened on Wednesday. In late February 2026, the United States and Israel launched military operations against Iran. You've seen it in the news. If you haven't, you've been living under a rock. Not the rock, but you've been living under a rock. The goal here was to take out Iran's ability to build a nuclear weapon and remove leadership in that country. The operation was called Operation Epic Fury. There is a federal law from 1973 called the War Powers Act. That law says if the president sends American troops into combat, Congress has 60 days to either approve the war officially or force troops home. The 60-day deadline passed. Democrats said Trump was now quote-unquote breaking the law. They wrote a resolution. Basically, what a resolution is, a formal demand telling Trump to pull back from Iran unless Congress specifically voted to keep the war going. Simple math here. They needed 51 votes to pass it, 51 out of 100 senators. They got 49 Democrats on board, then 3 Republicans crossed the lines and joined them. That should have been 52, more than enough here. John Fetterman voted no, 50-49, dead, finito burrito.
Well, of course, I'm going to vote it down. It's not necessary. Honestly, the entire thing, it's really an empty gesture. There's not going to be any votes. But when you're not even breaking the war powers resolution, why are you even doing that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and also let's also be clear. I'm tired of seeing people, go on social media and saying we can never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb, and Israel always deserves insecurity, and they deserve to exist. Well, if you're not willing to do about it, then it must just be empty words.
Yeah.
Are you really? Does it matter? No, but when President Trump was willing to do the kinds of things that are necessary to provide those things.
He's been saying that. John Fetterman's been saying that since Epic Fury launched. He was saying it the day before the vote. He didn't change a single word after he cast it. Now, here's something that is not getting enough coverage. This was not the first time Democrats tried this. This was the 7th time. 7 in the previous 6 votes. Fetterman broke with this party, but it didn't change the final outcome because enough Republicans crossed over. Today was completely different. Rand Paul, anti-war from day one. He's consistent here. Susan Collins facing an absolutely brutal, tough Maine re-election. And Lisa Morkowitz from Alaska, who had never voted with Democrats on this issue before today. If one more Republican had gone the same way, the resolution passes with Fetterman's no vote not mattering at all here. The only reason why it didn't happen is because the senator from Nebraska missed the vote entirely. Super duper paper thin here. And for the first time across all 7 votes, Fetterman was the deciding factor. Now, guys, listen to how John Fetterman explained the bigger picture to Chris Cuomo after the vote.
Remind, I was the only Democrat that supported
Trump striking the Iranian nuclear facilities back in June, and that impacted serious their ambitions now too. So like that's the thing, can't we just get tired of being wrong consistently on the region? And that's why, and I'm going to follow Israel.
Directly on camera, on a network, saying you've been wrong on this region every single time. He was the only Democrat who supported the Iranian nuclear facility strike back in June. The only one, not two here, not three, not four, not five. The one. So when Fetterman says consistently wrong, he has the receipts here to back it up. On May 8, 2026, 5 days before the vote, Fetterman published an opinion piece in the Washington Post. He didn't write it after the vote to explain himself. He published the warning first, then Fetterman delivered. Here's what he wrote, and I want you to read this and listen carefully because this is his own words in a national newspaper. Once common views have become increasingly toxic in the Democratic Party as a result of catering to the fringe and agitated parts of our base. The party is fractured by their demands. Obviously, Fetterman is not a Republican here. That is a sitting Democratic United States Senator saying it in writing in the Washington Post 5 days before he became the single deciding vote against his own party's most important foreign policy push of the year. Fetterman also addresses some questions about switching parties here. Being an independent voice that works on either side to deliver for Pennsylvania might put me at odds with the party that I've stayed committed to and have no plans on leaving. But I will continue to put my Commonwealth and the country first. You guys better underline that. Plus, I'd be a terrible Republican who still votes overwhelmingly with Democrats. So these clickbait articles and videos, he's telling you right here, he has no plans to leave. He calls himself a terrible Republican.
That's the TDS, this thing. I said that in one where if he came out for ice cream and lazy Sundays, we would hate it.
To react, senior writer for the Washington Examiner and Fox News contributor Joe Concha. Joe, good morning to you. So not uncommon for Senator Fetterman to say something like this now. Although ice cream and lazy Sunday is a very notable line.
Sounds amazing.
But one of the things that both he and Bill Maher agreed upon is that, you can't, we're on the other side. They're Democrats. Go after the president for things that matter when it comes to politics and policy. But when you have every single Democrat under the sun going after President Trump for something like building the ballroom, which has been proven to be something of a national security interest, that's where you cross the line into like some serious TDS.
So obviously, deep inside his party, they would oppose ice cream if Trump endorsed it.
The Democratic Party can't become the TDS party. We cannot be defined by the exact opposite, and we have to oppose every single kind of a thing. Yeah, and clearly that's where we are right now. So in terms, do I trust us? Yes, I do trust that. I do trust those people. And I have similar views on focusing on to prevent Iran becoming a nuclear power. Every single Democrat also agreed with it now, too. That does not mean you agree on every tactic that's happened. I don't appreciate the gamification of the Iranian war. I don't agree with some of these bizarre things that he'll say on social media now, too. I don't engage that, too. But I do trust them because we are the Americans, and I'm never going to trust the Iranians.
I am never trusting the country that underwrites terrorism worldwide. Fetterman's party here has a problem with that sentence. And here's the irony that nobody is saying clearly enough. Trump praising him is obviously making his political life worse, not better. And here's the part of the story that's not getting enough attention. Trump called Fetterman his favorite Democrat. Fetterman's my favorite Democrat. He publicly asked Fetterman to switch parties. He promised full financial support and more money than Fetterman has ever dreamed of. Fetterman kindly said no and said that he would be a terrible Republican. And he's staying put. But every single time that Trump says something nice about Fetterman, progressive activists clip it up. Democratic senators use it to distance themselves, and primary challengers fundraise off of that. The opposition inside Fetterman's own party is not really about his vote. At the end of the day, it's about optics. They can't be seen agreeing with a man like Trump or a person that likes Trump. That is official. That is official like a ref with the whistle. That is TDS baked into the party's infrastructure. The scoreboard right now, 0 Pennsylvania House Democrats currently backing Fetterman's 2028 re-election campaign. Zero. The man in 2022 was the only Democrat to flip a red Senate seat that in the entire election cycle in a state that Trump has now won twice. Has not one single member of his own state's House delegation willing to publicly stand for him. And watch what happened on Bill Maher.
It's ironic in my cycle that the Republicans try to spend tens of millions of dollars to convince people that I was a socialist, and now I'm accused of gone MAGA after voting 93% Democrat.
No,
but communism now, that's not, it's disqualifying.
Yeah. And a left-leaning panel on the Hills Rising show was saying Democrats are going to primary him, not Republicans, his own team. That is the 7% at work. Today, Democrats are the ones mad at him, not because he's socialist, because he's not one. That's where the party has moved. And Wednesday's vote, it wasn't random. It fits into a pattern that goes back before the Iran war ever started. Watch what Fetterman did when the Federal Reserve Chairman was being confirmed earlier this year, because this is the exact same pattern, but a completely different subject.
Confirmed President Trump's choice to run the Federal Reserve. The vote for Kevin Warsh was 54 to 45. Pennsylvania's Democrat John Fetterman was the only Democrat to vote in favor of Warsh. He will replace controversial Fed Chair Jerome Powell.
The only Democrat. Again, completely separate issue from Iran. Kevin Warsh is now confirmed and running the Federal Reserve. And one Pennsylvania Democrat made sure his confirmation had a Democratic vote attached to it. The pattern isn't about Iran. It is about Fetterman voting what he actually believes in instead of what the party tells him to believe in or tells him to vote for. And on Iran specifically, he's never been quiet about exactly what he thinks about should happen with that country and their economy.
I mean, I love that he's strangling the Iranian economy right now and blocking the strait. Iran thought that they had their trump card to block the strait. Well, we were able to remind them, no, we run this show, we run it, and now we've blocked it, and now they live on oil, and now we are choking off their entire lifeblood. I support that, and if it's required to bring in, more kinetic strikes, I support that too. Destroying the Iranian military and the Iranian regime, I think we should all agree that that's a noble goal.
And his party, the same party that spent years pushing for nuclear deals and diplomatic engagement with Iran, has to sit there and watch a Pennsylvania senator go on Fox News and say that he loves watching Iran's economy get choked out. Now watch how he described the bigger warning he's been given his party since Epic Fury launched.
I'm the only Democrat effectively left in Congress to support Epic Fury. It's almost as if we've forgotten on the Democratic side that the real enemy, the real threat, the real danger is Iran and its proxies too. And every single Democrat, we want to break Iran. We make sure they never acquire a nuclear bomb as we are approaching that 60 day of the war powers in the law. Iran must be so excited by the American media and the Democratic parties, the way it's like, as long as we can hang on for 60 days.
That the country that the United States just went to war with is being energized by what it sees from the Democrat politicians opposing the operation. It's not a rhetorical flourish here. It is a strategic assessment from a senator who sits on the Homeland Security Committee. And the same position he takes on Iran, he's taken consistently on Venezuela.
I'll remind everybody that America is a force of good, order, and democracy, and we are promoting these kinds of values. We are the good guys. Let's pretend that now we are acting in a way. Now, remember, we all Democrats years ago wanted to eliminate him, and why have a bounty of $25 million if we didn't want him gone? Why would you do these things if you weren't willing to actually do something other than harsh language?
His question about the $25 million Maduro bounty is the exact same logic his Iran position had. You either mean what you say or you don't. You don't put a bounty on somebody's head and then act horrified when somebody tries to collect it. His party obviously has a problem with that kind of consistency, and it goes beyond foreign policy here.
Democratic Senator John Fetterman calling out his own party. He says Democrats are losing young men, and it could be a problem come November.
Well, without a doubt, though, there's part of the Democratic Party became more and more anti-men. That's really why why we lost in 2024.
And he's given his own party a diagnosis that obviously they don't want to hear. And instead of taking the Fetterman medicine, they go looking. They're looking for somebody to run against them in Pennsylvania for 2028. America, the Democratic Party's problem isn't John Fetterman. Their problem is a man voting with them 93% of the time who won them a Senate seat in a state that Trump has carried twice, is politically quote unquote homeless inside his own party because of 7%. He's not up for re-election until 2028. His own party's already building the case against him right now. 0 Pennsylvania House Democrats willing to stand next to him publicly tells you the institutional pressure isn't coming. It is already here. Here's the piece that we haven't examined today. If Fetterman would have voted yes, that resolution passes 50-49. Trump gets legally ordered to pull back from Iran. The entire war changes direction, not because of 50 senators, because one man who decided country over party was not just a phrase on a bumper sticker. The Democrat Party can't win Pennsylvania without somebody who thinks the way that Fetterman thinks. They're obviously trying to run him out of his own party anyways. That, my friends, tells you everything where their priorities actually are. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comments section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.